loose. He shoots. He scores.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Habs Tonight. My name is Brandon Legacy, filling in for Aaron Amadeus as he has some family commitments tonight, so we wish Aaron well. Joined here with me is the integral part of the Weise Wednesdays, Mr. Dale Weise himself. Dale, buddy, how you doing tonight?
I am doing excellent, buddy. Unfortunate that Aaron couldn't be with us tonight, but I'm excited to have you riding shotgun, pal. Welcome to Weise Wednesdays.
Appreciate the call up. I told the wife the other day, I was like, "Hun, I'm getting the call up. I'm getting called up." But we just got done the big Easter weekend. I'm curious, how was your Easter weekend with the family?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was probably the first time in COVID that I've had a full family dinner with my mom, my dad, my brother, his kids, and my kids. So, I haven't been home for an Easter dinner probably since I was 15 years old. So, accomplishing a lot in these COVID holidays, but it was great, man. I had some great family time, and I get a chance to hang with my brother all the time. So that's pretty special to me.
That's awesome. And we do have one other co-host that will be joining us tonight. It is Mr. James Black. How you doing, man?
Good. Yeah. Great to be here, and really excited about tonight's chat, and really excited to meet Daniel and learn about his, career with the NHL and where he connected with Dale and everything, but also about his new venture with Wesana. I think we're going to learn a lot about stuff that we don't usually talk about on the show, and it's going to be phenomenal.
I think that's where he's so exciting to talk to, because he was, for me as a guy, when I was in the minors trying to break in the NHL, a guy that I kind of tried to mold myself after, in a way where, like, okay, this guy's like, he's a really good player and he's fighting everybody and he's doing everything. And if this guy's doing this, then I need to do even more if I'm going to have a chance to get in the NHL. So obviously that, led us to cross paths of my first NHL game, which we will get into very quickly, but he's going to have so much good information for us. And, he's another guy that was an absolute soldier, and people will definitely be excited to hear what he has to say.
All right, so I think it's time to bring him in. Yeah. So everyone, I'd like to introduce tonight's guest. Obviously, it's Daniel Carcillo. He played over 400 games in the NHL with 6 teams, winning 2 Stanley Cups as a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. He had over 100 points in his NHL career, while also racking up the penalty minutes with over 1,200 PIMs. I'm not sure if you got close to that one, Dale, but nope. Everyone, it's a great pleasure to welcome Daniel Carcillo to the Habs Tonight community.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Oh, very good. Great shot there. I like that with the Stanley Cup. That's pretty good, right?
That was nice. I don't recall if that one's from Boston, where we didn't have our didn't have time to get dressed. We didn't have I didn't have elbow pads on in the picture, just because that's when we tied it late, and then Boley put one home real late. So we were all kind of scrambling because we thought we were going back to Chicago.
Man, what was that like when you're watching that game? Were you guys, where were you watching that one? Were you in the room? Were you upstairs?
In the room. Yeah.
Okay. And did you absolutely lose it when he scored? Like, what was that like?
Oh yeah, we were all just like, some guys were kind of half dressed in their suits, just kind of feeling it out. And I remember just Jamal Mayer's going crazy. Yeah, it was a pretty exciting time.
Oh, that's unreal.
Do you have a favorite of the two? Just I think people will want to know if you had a favorite of the two. This one you felt like
Second one was kind of cool. I had my then now wife, then girlfriend with our son, so he was able to be on my chest during the parade, and it was nice to experience that with my son, even though he doesn't remember, but he looks at it now and he thinks he knows. So yeah, that was cool.
That's so cool. So you have one son, one daughter. How many kids do you have?
One son, two daughters. Yeah.
Okay.
6,
how old
4,
are they?
and 3.
6, 4, and 3. Oh, great ages. Really good ages.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's really cherishing the last 2 years with them. When I first retired, it was difficult to stay engaged, noise sensitivity and other things. But now it's just amazing gift to be present and play with them with like a kid-like personality. It's something, I don't know, I grew up like kind of old school Italian, my parents never did that. And
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun to come home from work and get down with them.
It's so good to see like just the joy on your face. I can just see how present and happy you are, man. I'm so happy to see that for you. It's just great to see.
Yeah, it was an interesting. The last 6.5 years has been quite a journey, but I've learned a lot. Come to a few realizations, and just have worked really, really hard on myself, and I'm just in a really good place, with my family. And well, first of all, personally, like that relationship to myself is really important. Starting to love myself, and that started when I got introduced to a different type of medicine and perspective of looking at the world, and that's just radiated into all of my other relationships with my kids and my wife and my friends and strangers and business relationships. So yeah, it's been quite a remarkable little 21-month ride. Yeah.
Speaking of strangers, some of our fans may not know how you guys first met on the ice. Dale, I wonder if you want to get into that.
Yeah, I figured I'd touch on that. I know when we talked about starting the show, I know Dan, you were obviously a guest I wanted to have on for a multitude of reasons, but no better than my first NHL game. We had a fight, which is great. I remember I got called up the day before, and I'm excited because obviously I've been watching you the past couple of years. You're fighting everybody. I'm like, I have to get this guy to fight me. Like, I don't know what I got to do, but I got to get him to fight me. Like, this would put me on the map. I need to do this. And I remember being in the room before the game, and Sean Avery, being the prick that he is, comes up, and I'm looking over the lineup, and he comes up and he's like, "Don't touch Carcillo. I got him tonight." And I'm just sitting there like, it's my first NHL game. I'm like, oh, okay, man. Like, I'm not ruffling any feathers with anybody. So I watched him duck you for 2 periods blatantly. You asked him twice. He didn't want it. And then the third period, we were losing. I think it was 3 or 4-1. It's like 8 minutes left, and I like just ran the snot out of someone in front of your bench, and then you came over and challenged me. It was awesome, man. I loved it. It was such a good moment for me.
Forced me to do it. That's the way you had to go about it back then. And yeah, Sean ducked me for the better part of 2.5 years before those 2 periods that you saw him duck me. So we ended up meeting, but yeah, it's always nice to. There's always that respect level where. Back then, I don't know if I was looking up and down the lineup because that's when I was car bomb and I was in it, and didn't really matter who came at me.
Right.
And so, but it's always nice to get that first one out of the way, right?
You know what? It gave me. I was fighting. I don't know, maybe like 10, 12 times in the minors a year. Not like a huge volume guy, but I know it did a lot for me to fight you, just to get my confidence and know that I could fight guys like you and. In that level, that was big for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could always play, you know what I mean? And, you probably viewed it, I heard you on the intro, just you viewed it the same way I did, right? Like it's, you got to be able to skate, hit, shoot. And then if you can add sticking up for yourself and your teammates and changing the momentum of a game, back when we played, that was really important and that was really encouraged. So, and then it gave you a chance not only to get a shot, and once you got a shot, then it gave you a chance to stay there if you bit the bullet and wanted to do it long enough.
Absolutely. Did you like? I didn't see your in junior. Like, how many fights a year would you be having in junior?
I fought 6 times total over 3 years.
Oh, okay.
I was 30 goal scorer.
Right.
First power play, PK.
Of course. I think that's what people forget, right? Like, you see guys make it to the NHL, and they have really, really good careers playing as 3rd, 4th line guys. And people forget that these were elite players in junior in the American League. And people just forget that. I know I was checking today, and I knew why I was pumped about you the first couple of years, because I'm pretty sure was your first year you had like 14 goals in like 50 games, like 300 PIMs. Do you remember his stat?
Yeah, with Phoenix when
Yeah.
Wayne was my coach. That's why he
Oh,
loved
that was.
me.
Oh, how was that? How was he as a coach?
Well, he was good. You know, he was good.
Daniel, I hear some hesitancy there. Come on, let's.
It must have been good for you.
Really,
well
he's a really, yeah, he's a really good person, and he was helpful. And let's just say this: he gave me a lot of leeway, you know, to make mistakes and not punish me too hard, you know. So from that sense, you know, he was. Yeah, he was a good man, and everybody around him, you know, like Grant Fuhrer and Ulf Samuelsson. Then I ended up having Ulf in New York, you know, and again, and he was like he totally changed from the coach he was back in Phoenix, and it's really amazing to see that, you know, that type of growth, like from people in hockey that maybe, you know, when.
Nope. Must have lost audio there.
And then,
there he is.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, their ways, and then got more chances, you know. So, yeah, my time in Phoenix, though, man, it was a lot of fun. It you know, just I was that first year, man. What I was trying to do was break the all-time PIM record, Schultz's, and if I didn't blow my PCL out with Roenick, you know, choking me from behind in San Jose, then, you know, things would have been different. But yeah, it was definitely a good year. That was a signing year, so that kind of just propelled me forward, kind of put me on the map, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Daniel, were there any players as you were coming up that were sort of you know, the same version of you for Dale? You know, someone who got, okay, as soon as I interact with this guy, once I throw a fist with this guy, that might be my moment that people really pay attention to me, take me seriously. Was there anyone in your mind?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it was hard enough to get seen in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
But when we played the Leafs, and I grew up just north of Toronto, shout out to King City.
I'm in Newmarket, so
Ontario.
I'm
Beautiful.
Yep. You know, it was Darcy Tucker, you know, with a guy that I just knew as soon as they came, you know, that I needed to, you know. And so it was funny because he I think he knew too, right? And after Wesley tried to get the jump, but you know, but all the, you know, hats off to him. Like, he didn't have to fight me, you know what I mean? But I think it's that kind of unwritten code type of thing where it's like, then I fought a lot of guys that I was like, at the end of my career, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, but you just kind of pass the torch, you know. It's just like, yeah, I'm done. Here you go, you know.
Yeah.
Is there any guys that like you went with that like surprised you that you weren't expecting to do so well or be like strong or something like that?
Yeah. There was one fight in LA that I was really scared to do, and it was against Cam Jansson. And I did really well. And it was right after like an ACL surgery, so I was a little heavier. But yeah, you know, that was a good one for me. And then, you know, I remember Darcy Hordichuk, like that's the opposite, you know, where it's like, oh boy, like what were you trying to bite off there?
Yeah.
So, you know, it goes both ways.
That's amazing. Dale, I know you've, you know, you guys are around the same time of career, but, you know, just now reflecting back on that fight and just thinking about where you guys have come from over all those years. And for you, Daniel, I mean, I do want to spend a lot of our time tonight talking about the things you've learned over those 6.5 years and the realizations and the things that have, you know, pushed you to be a CEO now of a company. And, you know, in my notes for the show, I want to talk quickly about leadership and some of the people that you got to model or learn from that you could take lessons from going into your CEO-ship of Wesana. And, you know, my inclination is to ask about Jonathan Toews because you guys both know him. And maybe I've heard so many great things about his leadership. Are there players like him or others you'd like to take lessons from as you go forward into your new role?
Yeah, I mean, Johnny's awesome, man. We're still really close and probably closest with him than anybody from the hockey world right now. And just a really good person, first and foremost, which is, you know, usually that's who I click with. People just like, even though he's so important in so many ways to the sport and to the city of Chicago, he doesn't act like it, and he's really humble, and he's helped me. He was always there, like when I was going through my stuff and what happened with Steve when he passed, and him, and even Brent Seabrook, like just like Sharpie, solid guys, man. Always just kind of texting when I didn't necessarily want to be with the team, and just checking in, and it's that simple, right? Just to check in. But then also, you watch him closely, right? I couldn't wrap my head around putting my feet in his skates because I don't know, it might sound bad, but I didn't view the game the same way he did. I just played in raw emotion. I didn't look at where the yellow highlighter was on the sheet from the goalie coach to tell me where to shoot on the goalie. Like, I didn't look much at systems, and I just followed ours and tried to do the things that would help the team, and but that always stemmed from just being the most diligent as far as work ethic. And he always had that. And that just pushes you, drives you. The last thing you want to do is be a letdown. And with a leader like that, you got to stay on your game, And so, yeah, I don't know about Dale's interaction, but mine always was and continues to be really special to me. And I send him, we should all, send him our thoughts, and I'm sure everybody misses watching him playing, and hopefully he's going to get back there soon,
Yeah, for me, guys, I love. So I don't know if you knew this, Dan, but so me and Toews are the same age. We grew up in Winnipeg, so we played against each other from a young age, and I lost his team pretty much every single year growing up. So I hated the guy when I was younger. I absolutely couldn't stand him, and I hated him because I kept losing to the guy. And then when I got a chance to play with him, man, I just, not that I didn't have the utmost respect for him before, but just being around, not even so much him, but the whole team, like all of those guys, Seabrook and Keith, and even Kane, was quiet, but the way he goes about himself, man, I was just in awe. I was only there for, I got traded there at the deadline. I was there for like 3 months, and we lost in the first round, but I just loved being around that team, and I just realized why they were so successful. And I was on 6 teams, and I honestly can't say there was any leadership core on any team that I played on. Maybe Vancouver 2012 was a pretty good leadership core there, but I can't really compare anything to Chicago. Just that nucleus, that group was just incredible. Maybe, and I don't know which, like your other team situations, maybe talk about that a little bit, but Chicago for me was just, you see why they were so successful, and how do you now using that, transition that into your business side?
Yeah, well, I think it's personalities and culture. It's the same thing in business. You want to work with people that are good people and that have the same moral compass that you do, and that your vision for the business has, and you all need to work in lockstep to push that forward. And you got to be pulling the same rope. You always hear it. It's always these little details that end up with the bigger milestones. And it's really no different in business. Like, it's really hard to build and to find the right people. But luckily, I made a post the other day. I really do feel, even though it's probably not true the way I felt before, that the universe is working for me rather than against me now. And what I mean by that is I keep having people get put into my life that solve certain problems or issues that arise, and then you just acquiesce. Well, why? And if they're, you just continue to move forward with just like this confidence that, like, how much are we really in control? How much were you in control, Dale, of somebody getting hurt and then getting called up and then meeting me for my first fight against Philly with New York? How much did you control? You controlled your work ethic. You controlled everything leading up to that opportunity, but you didn't really control all the other elements, which there's a ton of them. That, like little bounces. So when I look at my life and the medicine that I'm taking helps me look back and just be, even though a lot of really bad things happened and I acted in certain manners that I'm not proud of and that I've been accountable for publicly, you're grateful for, you become grateful for all these lessons. And then I think with perspective, and I'm not fighting everybody. Like, I don't wake up anymore ready for a fight, man. Who am I fighting tonight? Is it the coach? Is it one of my teammates? Is it the puck when I'm on the ice because I didn't have the best hands? Like, I don't. So, it's hockey and a lot of the lessons in that sport. The sport's amazing. I've always said that I love hockey. I really do. It's just the institutions that I came up in where we just weren't protected as kids, and then we weren't protected as adults, and they could have done more. And so we got to hold them accountable. And that's a big part of who I am. And then, people know who I am and what I've done on the advocacy side of things. Sometimes I don't, you learn a lot of lessons, right? Like, the biggest one too is also communication, which we learn in hockey, like, we're not really the best communicators.
I learned that quickly in my marriage, that hockey did not help me in that situation.
No. So then you leave certain things, right? And then you try to learn from past experiences and pick up new tools. And we can. That's the good thing about us. We're really coachable. And so if you're able to listen and be humble enough, like, then you can, totally reinvent yourself. And use a lot of the skill sets that you really liked about yourself in this, for me personally, my past life, which is the hockey life, and now I'm living a new one, by a new different set of rules. And I operate my business the same way. And if people buy into the same way that we view the world, which isn't hard, it's like cause no harm and just try to help people as soon as we can. So yeah, I hope that answers
I like
it.
to say, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? I mean,
I've been on plenty of teams where there was zero culture, and you can feel it right away as soon as you walk into it. And we can get onto that another time. But I want to just rewind a little bit. Dan, tell us where you went from finishing your career, and in the longest or shortest answers you would like. How did you get to where you are now? Take us through the final day of your career and summarize it any way you would like.
So my final year, my son was born in 2014. And I just signed with Chicago as I landed on a PTO with Pittsburgh. And then I drove back and I was relieved because I was going to go to Russia. I didn't want to leave my then fiance with pregnant. And so I was relieved. So I signed, and then my son was born in November, and I was like, already kind of 1 foot out the door. I didn't want to be an absent father. I didn't want to be away all the time. And then Steve died in February. And I was just like fucking crushed, and I was already kind of spiritually almost done. Then mentally it was like, and I was just so angry and frustrated and sad because of what I saw. I was there. I was in the room. I watched everything. We made decisions together, he made the decision ultimately, but tons of discussions. And he had no help, and he was looking for it. Like, and everybody kind of knew he was struggling. And then I'm like, now I'm rattled. And then I walked in, I remember when I found out, just bawling, warm up, had to get off the ice, and walked into Q's office. I'm like, dude, I'm done. Don't play me again. I want to go home. And so I went home, and then, I came back like a week or two later, and then in like 3 weeks, it was a throwaway game against Philly, and I was out of shape. I shouldn't have been playing, and they put me in, and it's like, oh, okay. And then I just wanted to feel anything else than what I was feeling. So then I fought, and then I got my 7th concussion. And then I was like, oh man, because the symptoms were really, really bad. Like light sensitivity, slurred speech, wanted nothing to do with holding my newborn son, nothing to do with my wife, dark, like super, super dark. And it just made me realize, like, holy dude, you got to do something, you're shutting down, and I'm talking like seizures and just different things. So I was like, all right, I'm definitely done, and stuck it out. Put up, shut up. Signed, return to play, but didn't play again. And just to because I was still brainwashed that like having my name on a piece of tin was like that important. And then so I came back and I tried to be the best teammate I could, right? Like that was a really good year and a really good lesson, because I was miserable in 2013 because I wasn't playing, but then I was able to be there for people like Versteeg and Kimmo Timonen when they were scratched and rattled. And so again, you just get a second chance, and just all I had to do was like play sick tunes and be a good teammate. And so I did it, and all for the good of the team. We all have a role. We all have a part. Doesn't matter how small. We all chip in. And, but then I've won, and I was like, blah, like no real, feeling, still a lot of symptoms. And so I just made a decision, to retire. And really when I made that decision was when, like after Steve's death, I made that video at the Players Tribune. I hoped that we'd hit the finals. So I was being strategic, because the only time everybody covers everything is when we're in the finals. And so then they did, and then it got a lot of traction, like kind of a call to arms. And then I retired, called up the NHLPA, like, hey guys, like, what are we going to do? How are you going to help me? And nothing, right? All they were more concerned about is the nonprofit that I was creating to help players, because they had no programming to do so. And then just bad symptoms, light sensitivity, slurred speech, headache, head pressure, insomnia, impulse control issues, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations. It was slipping pretty good, pretty quickly. And then I'm looking at my son, and I'm like, I'm so young, and it's really hard to like go assess your brain health. And the only place I knew were like Carrick Institute functional neurologists, and it costs a lot of money. And then you start researching, right? So you start trying to switch out of that victim mindset to research, to like, okay, what's happened to my brain? Concussion pathology, number one, and then how can I fix it? What are the options? And so then I just dissected. How did Steve get cleared for 19 concussions? Where's the disconnect between TBI diagnostics and why don't we have any endpoints to say, 10's enough, buddy. And because the first case of punch drunk or, dementia pugilistica was described in 1928. Think about that. And then you just start researching, right? And you dive into the NFL concussion lawsuit, and then you dive into our lawsuit, and it's just like, man, things need to change, And so, with recovery, you keep researching, right? Okay, there's things to manage symptoms, but there's not really like, a real understanding of like a collection of data, and then dissecting the data and being able to like, it's evidence-based, right? There's no novel validated options. So I got to a point where I was smart enough to know that I needed to track my progress with QEEGs and blood work, right? So I did that even while I was doing the evidence-based modalities. And I'm talking about like on top of the functional neurologists and concussion clinics and brain banks, things like Moxa acupuncture, self-deprivation tanks, hyperbaric chamber, TMS, speaking to neuroendocrinologists, changing diets, numerous different ways, focusing on sleep. And then, I got to a point where I was 4 years in. So this is 21 months ago. And I took my 8th QEEG, still a lot of abnormalities. That was
that's
that
a brain
picture.
scan, Daniel. That's a brain scan.
Yeah, that's that brain scan. Yeah, that just basically gives you a snapshot into how your brain is communicating, right? And then the raw data behind those images really helps clinicians diagnose, right?
Because we have those images. Do you mind if we bring them up and you can kind of explain them to the people that are watching?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great,
yeah,
actually.
Not the highest, sorry, it's not the highest res, but yeah, you can see the color differentiation.
Yeah, you can see the color difference. It's measuring like beta, theta, alpha waves, and just again the way your brain is communicating. It's a simple test: eyes open for 3 minutes, eyes closed for 3 minutes, and then again just measuring the neuronal activity and the function. And so, ton of abnormalities on the left. Blood work totally messed up. Still, right? 250 grand in the hole. Looking around, having strong images of suicide, and I'm like, man, I got a house, I got 3 beautiful kids, I got a wife, I've got a car. Why am I wanting to kill myself? And so then it's like, well, and then again, the universe kind of comes in, former teammate, like usual, always. We always are the ones helping each other, and come on to this farm, man. Learn about psilocybin, CBD, functional mushrooms. And so I took the invitation, and I was surprised with a ceremony, which is a very intentional way of using medicine. I want to preface all of this, and I should have done it before, that I'm not a doctor, and don't listen to me. And this is not medical advice. Okay. Do your own research.
Yeah. The disclaimer was up at the start. We had the disclaimer.
I know. I saw it and I'm like, I got to lead with that for sure. So I went to the farm, and then I did the ceremony, set the intention, which was just to recover my brain health. Simple stuff. It's not, rocket science. And then, the hardest 3 hours of my life. Okay. So when you do big dose psychedelic medicine, the reason you go big dose is because you can't stop it. Okay. So that's why the set and the setting and who you're around and the guide and really knowing the dosage of the medicines is so important in this, because if you don't have the right intention, then you're not going to get the outcome that you want, because this medicine has its own inherent intelligence and it exasperates what's at the forefront of our mind. So for me, and the reason it has an intelligence is because indigenous people have used this for thousands of years in very intentional ways. And so for me, it was just recover brain health, and then, hang on. And what it did was show me, so then it shows you certain things that you don't really want to see, right? That are the reasons why you're suffering, right? And so and then it keeps it there, and you just got to look. And until you surrender to these medicines in this ceremony and let it take you, which we all have a really hard time doing, that's where you get difficult trips. I do not describe my trip as a bad trip. It was so necessary, and it saved my life.
And this was mushrooms, Daniel? This is
psilocybin. Yeah. So I was at this farm and I was lost, right? Because I just literally cut off the hockey world, and I was on my couch, just like, on Twitter, angry, frustrated, sad still, had no recovery. And so it showed me, I was going in this loop. And so then you correlate that back to when you come out of the ceremony it was just kind of showing me that, we understand, like I understand kind of where I was, really hard time letting go. And then finally, when I did in this ceremony, it was like, man, it was everything, it just like ripped away, 10 years of trauma, physical, emotional. And I woke up the next day, and the best way I can describe it is feeling the way I should. So we always, with TBI especially, we want to get back to the person we were before the injury. And I was like just trying to figure out who I was before I really left home at 15, 16 and went to Sarnia and became car bomb and all that other stuff, and it helped me see that. And then, I'm on this farm for the next 6 days, and for a weird reason, not weird to me now, all my symptomology started to lessen in intensity and then all but fade away. So I found myself the next day where I wanted nothing to do with talking to my wife or seeing my 3 kids then. All I wanted to do was FaceTime them and get back connected to them. And I felt more connected to myself, more in the present moment when I was speaking to people. I wasn't off worrying about my anxiety or what Twitter was saying. And then, you know, I didn't feel the need to, you know, negatively put myself down anymore to motivate, right? Like we're so used to. Started to shift to like a positive mindset and a positive reinforcement that, you know, from, you know, this isn't enough to this is great. And then, you know, just light sensitivity, didn't need my glasses on the 4th day on the farm, which would usually trigger a headache. And then, yeah, man, I went home on day 6 or 7, and it was just, I felt good. I felt at peace, you know, I felt more like calm, more homeostasis. Didn't feel like people were trying to get me. And so then, you know, I understood though. So from a medical standpoint of what I read with the PubMed papers, because I was like totally intrigued. I'm like, hey, what the heck just happened? Because, so I dove into like the science and the research, right? And then the research and the science pointed towards everything that these neurological clinics were saying that they could do for me. We're going to identify regions of your brain like shut down due to trauma, then we're going to stimulate them, and you're going to create these new neurological pathways and these go-arounds from your trauma, and we're going to wake that part of your brain up, and it's going to start communicating with all the other parts of the brain, right? And then you're going to feel really good. I'm like, phew, give it to me. Yeah. And I believe that can happen. Don't get me wrong, just not within this natural substance does it in 5 hours, and it's a cascade of effects. And it not only builds new neurological pathways and stimulates areas and promotes neurogenesis, which I think is one of the keys. You know, it helps open up old pathways and then helps, number one, shift perspective of the self and how you view this recovery journey. And so I was like, oh man, okay. So that was one ceremony. And then I understood, well, I got to do this over a longer period of time, right? Like this has to be introduced. Nothing gets fixed in 5 hours. Right. That's just the start. I was not a mild case of post-concussions. I was moderate to severe. Right. So then I just started tweaking with big dose ceremonies and small doses, microdoses, in combination with other non-psychoactive cannabinoids. And then functional mushrooms like lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, these things that increase something called BDNF. So the thinking is the big dose, you stimulate, you create the neurons, but then you got to feed them, right? And you feed them with brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And then the microdose helps to like solidify those good pathways, those good thought waves, broke up all the destructive stuff, and just helps you stay in them. And then from a neuro and anti-inflammatory standpoint, it's wonderful. From a stimulation standpoint, it's great. Like it makes me a more patient father. It makes me a better businessman. Language is easily accessible and problem solving is off the charts. And so then I did that for 6 months, tweaking with milligram amounts and big dose, small dose. And then I retested my QEEG. 5 years in, got it back, no abnormalities. And that's one that you see on the right. And so that means that there's structural change. And then obviously, so neurologically, what happens at TBI is cells die, they secrete chemicals that kill other cells, and we know that, and you have to stop that. And then physiologically, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and then the CNS system, right? It just you're totally out of whack, hormones, everything. And so I tested my hormones, and to my surprise, I didn't have the free testosterone of a 72-year-old male, and it fixed my cortisol levels that were 3 times as high, which is the stress hormone. So this combination at 6 months, a lot of work also, focus on sleep, diet. This is the thing that I don't know if a lot of these other CEOs know about, right? Because they haven't experienced this medicine the way I have and haven't seen it work in people the way I have. there's a healthy focus on increasing the efficacy of this medicine by, God forbid, promoting good sleep habits and nutrition habits, right? So I focused on that. I didn't say anything after the first 6 months in those first 2 tests. I wanted to get to a year. Got to a year, the tests look even better, right? And then as I continue to test, I'm at 21 months now. I've got another 3 months, but they keep getting better and better. Then I keep needing, less and less of the medicine. And I am able to, stay in more of the present moment. And then, I just, then the universe started introducing me to people that could help with the skills that I didn't have, like global clinical development. And I just trusted it. And where I went to seek these people out were always through advocacy, so I wanted to talk about this medicine, and then I wanted to do the thing that I could do for TBI survivors, which is try to standardize some novel protocol and try to help, and I really truly believe if we could help with TBI because of how complex it is, then we can help with a lot of other things. So that's a long-winded answer of the journey to this point. And really, I don't want to talk, too much about the company and stuff, but really grateful, for the NHL, man. It's like, wow, if they did the right thing, I wouldn't be here today with this message, so it's quite amazing. So from that stance, it's like totally changed, right? Like, do I want to fight them anymore with this lawsuit, or do I just want to focus on building something in a positive manner that will inherently, if they don't join, make them look really bad, Absolutely. So
which should be way better payback.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep moving forward, put my head down, and hopefully the universe keeps working, and then, it's just applying, the work ethic to like the recovery, or the work ethic that we learned to the building of the businesses. But then it's like, you can't force these things, right? So it's also like this belief from this medicine that, like, when we're in the present moment, we get so much data, like we can take in so much more information rather than when, like, I'm way off, like if I'm thinking about my kids running around upstairs and not like looking at all 3 of your faces, it's just like we're, just not here. And I love being present, so it's been a great journey.
I think everybody can agree here, though, as we talked about yesterday as we were prepping, is you look like in such a better place now. Like, you're happier. Like, I follow you on Twitter. I see like you on the roller coaster rides with the kids and stuff. Like, you can just see I don't know how to word it, just like the improvement you've had over the last couple of years is just absolutely incredible.
I was rattled, man. And then, and I still get rattled. Like, so you see the with Mark Pavelich yesterday, like he could have been helped.
Yeah.
Like it was guys like us that were writing to the judge. Mm-hmm. Why? Mm-hmm. Where are they, man? But the miracle on ice. And if it makes them a few bucks, they'll promote it. But when you get sick, we don't fucking know you, man. Sorry, you're on your own,
and sadly,
and it's bad, man. And it's still, like, trust me, man, there's still a pit bull in here, don't get me wrong. And I just don't, I view it different ways, right? Like you can't fight fire with fire. You got to create, and then they'll come, but Mark could have been helped, man. He could have been helped, and a lot of other guys could have been helped, but that's okay. We'll use it as a learning lesson and continue to move, and then, I just had to step away, from the community, because then there's just so much about the sport. It's amazing. It's just like how we promote it and talk about it, and everyone wants to say, that I'm a hypocrite and this and that, but the reality is they still don't tell us the truth, and they're not telling these current players the truth. So how am I a hypocrite? You're the hypocrite if we're promoting these things that we know hurt, and hurt people. And so for me, the mission has always been, man, just full transparency. If we know, Dale, me and you would have signed on the dotted line. They know we're going to sign,
Of course.
But just tell us, and then we'll be better prepared for the future. And maybe tell our wives too, prepare the family. Cause I don't know how your transition's been, but it's not easy, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, man. But man, that's really fascinating stuff. I could listen to you talk about that all day. Honestly, there's so many guys that could have been helped, and there's so many guys that you're going to help in the future with this. I'm truly, really excited to see where you take us, man. I'm so excited that you came on and talked to us. I'd love to get you on again. I don't want to steal you all the time. You got a beautiful family you got to get to, but let's get you on again, because we have a million other questions I'd love to ask you.
No worries. Yeah, I know I took the airtime, but I will give credit to where credit's due. Glenn Healy is listening, and the NHL Alumni Association, not to be mistaken for the NHLPA, the NHL Alumni Association, right? And then always goes back, man. I appreciate you reaching out and speaking to me and giving me a platform, and we'll just keep helping the guys,
100%. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it, boys. Cool.
Thanks, man.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
You too.
Wow, that was incredible.
Man, that is some, I knew a little bit about it, but when he just goes into that kind of detail, man, that's incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? I mean,
James, you're a little more knowledgeable on it than me and Brandon, obviously, but wow.
Yeah, I mean, I have aligned interest with Daniel off this. I mean, our businesses are colliding. I should put it that way. I don't want to get too much into it, but Wesana is his company, and that's what he started, and they're researching, and they're going to try to do fulfill his mission, I think, in life, which is to help these players and people who've suffered the brain trauma, and try to avoid these situations, the Wade Belak or the Chris Benoit or the Junior Seau. I mean,
the list goes on.
It's a very long list, and it's really sad. And Dale, I don't know if you've seen. I mean, again, I don't even know where I want to come in on this one, but in your own experience with the NHL, I mean, seeing, people get hurt and then maybe kind of getting, tidied up and put back in the ice. And I just felt listening to him, there was almost like, you look at the Paul Kariya situation or Sidney Crosby and you go well, Sid came back and he's had a great career.
Right.
And that actually hurt things for him coming back and getting over it. I mean, it's good for him, but are there guys that went through what he did and didn't get the care, the support, or the time? Because everyone knows Sid was going to get all the time in the world, but there's guys who didn't. And maybe that's what led to a lot of these traumatic brain injuries. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like just maybe for guys who are just really trying to scrape away at the league?
Man, for me, it's something I've discussed with my family a ton from the time I started my career. Like I said, I fought in junior, but I didn't fight a lot. It's always something, I'd always talk to my mom and dad about, I'm like, I don't want to fight all the time. I don't want to be brain dead at 40 years old, because you hear all the stories, and I always looked a little more into it than guys that kind of just went out there and fought everybody and didn't care. I'm thinking I got to live a life after this, and I want to have a family. I want to live a long, healthy life. And, as I get older, I had a couple concussions, and, I told the story before where I was in a fight. I got knocked down. I didn't even realize. My dad told me I got knocked down after the game. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I went back and watched it, and it's like, geez, I blacked out. I didn't even realize. And then, another time I got in a fight against Luke Shen. I got one punch, hit me right in the temple. Boom, lights were out. I went down, I was up, and then I finished the game. You're fine. And it's like, what is happening in your brain that you're getting punched? You're blacked out. You go out on your feet, and then you continue to play, and nothing happens. That was 2000. That would have been 2010 when I was with the Rangers. So, that's not that far ago, and they were doing nothing. There was no concussion protocol. There was no quiet room that they call now. 2014 in the playoffs against the Rangers, I get blindsided. I'm out on my feet again. You go in the room, you answer some stupid questions, repeat 1, 5, 7, 3, 9. It's like, I can be crippled and I can repeat 1, 5, I could have 27 beers and do that. Like, what is that? It's just so wrong, and it's so dangerous. And unfortunately, what was great that Daniel said there, and I would agree to it too. Even if they just give you the information, I think that's fair. Because I'm going to go out there balls to the wall. I'm not changing my career. I don't regret anything I did. But just to have that knowledge, I think, is something that the players deserve.
What I liked too about Daniel in that interview was some people may think like he's pissed off at hockey. He's not. Like, he still loves, like, I'm not sure. Like, he still loves the game, I'll say, the game of hockey. He just wants people to be aware, and he wants the NHL to step up and take responsibility of their employees per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just listening to other comments he's made before, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I think the lawsuit is actually probably a bit of the wedge right now, where there's a class action against the league, and until that gets resolved, there's not much they can admit to or take a public stance on, because they can't admit liability, right? And right. I think that's where we've seen the NFL go with things, and soccer. Those two leagues are making progress. They're probably not where they need to be quite yet, but you've seen football evolve. And Dale, my question for you is, okay, with all the facts on the table, we know that some of the ways that people play the game is going to hurt them long term. Are there things about the game, whether it's from the coaching or from just the expectations that we're setting on players, the rules, where we could change things a bit to really improve player safety, especially head safety?
Yeah, and I think they're trending in the right direction, to be honest with you. There's fighting. I think fighting's up this year, but the stage fights, the big enforcers, those kind of got whittled out in the last couple of years. Suspensions are a lot more serious now, where 10 years ago you hit a guy in the head, you probably wouldn't even get a penalty. So I really think they're trending in the right direction. We've talked about fighting all the time. Fighting's not going to leave the game. It's just never going to happen. But I think putting the new protocols where they take the decision out of the player's hand is a good first step. I have issues because I have the NHL spotters that are sitting in the stands, and he's sitting in the nosebleeds, and he's telling me that I got hit in the head when I'm down on the ice, and I'm I didn't get hit, but now the trainer's telling me I got to go in the quiet room for 20 minutes. So there's still some things to work out, but I truly believe they're trying to trend in the right direction, or they're publicly just trying to show that they're trending in the right direction. I'm not sold yet.
So we know, like, the Habs Leafs games are on. We haven't paid a drop of attention to it, but we are going to take some callers tonight live at habstonight.com. So don't ask us about the games. We actually kind of have no idea what's going on. But if you want to hop on the show, talk to Dale, ask some questions, ask James or myself a question, although that might be rare. Email live at habstonight.com. And there it is, 1-1. I had that recorded, but yes.
Yeah, we do have a post game tonight too. And we did have a pregame, so you could actually just go and watch the post game with Steffi and Alyssa after if you really want. But no, I mean, one thing I think about with this conversation, and maybe we'll get back into psychedelics in a second, but because I want to actually talk about to you about some of the things that I think people are doing to self-medicate, and also talk about sleep. But just our role as fans. This is a fan network that we're building at Habs Tonight. Brandon, you're a huge fan. I'm a big fan of hockey. Everyone on here is a freaking, like, Dale, you're a huge fan.
Absolutely.
What role do we play in this, right? Like, are we somewhat culpable when their fight happens? The way you do it's an energy boost. We scream, we yell, we get so excited when there's crowds.
Right.
I mean, are we part of the problem? Like, that's just an open question as a fan to a player.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Even myself, when I'm a fan, I enjoy watching fighting. Did I like fighting when I did it? No. Is it enjoyable to get punched in the head? No. Like, it's but as a fan, I'm watching, it's entertainment. And I think, the fans are part of the problem. And I think, there's a lot of still old school mentality in the NHL, where that kind of old school mentality that Dan talks about, where you don't communicate, you don't say when you have problems, you don't say when you have issues. I think everybody has a role to play in this. And I think if everybody could just get on board with trying to help everybody and have some transparency, I don't know if that's possible. I definitely think, that would help, but you're the problem, James. Brandon, you're the problem. And I am also.
I was going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Is Dale, you can attest to this because you obviously played in the league, is right now, you guys, well, most teams are playing without fans, and let's say it's not televised. And I like what you said, like the stage fighting's gone, but you're still gonna have that heat of the moment. Like you see it in Gents League half the time, people drop the gloves. Like it's a part of the game that keeps people accountable. So I don't know if it'll ever go, but it is the entertainment. Like you'll go to a junior game and you'll hear people like, I hope there's a fight tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, it's entertainment. Now, look at the UFC. Look how big that production is. Like, even if I'm not even I'm not the biggest UFC fan, but if there's a huge pay-per-view, I'm watching it, and it's just pure entertainment for whatever it is. It's just, you want to watch it. Hockey is one of the very sports, football doesn't have it. Basketball doesn't have it. Baseball doesn't, like, it's bare knuckle fighting. It's just a rare occurrence. So it's not going anywhere.
In baseball, you can throw at the batter. You can rush
throw
the okay. Basketball, you can set a hard pick and a hard foul. Like there's things there that they do, but it's not fighting. They got rid of. There was some terrible fights in the 80s and 70s in basketball. The Kermit Washington, just Google that. Rudy Tomjanovich. Right. And you'll see why ending fighting almost killed the guy. Right, Rudy T almost got his face punched in. Well, he did, but he almost got his brain. Like it was terrible. And and then football. Remember Dale, like watching like the primetime highlights, like getting jacked up, right?
Yeah.
And the game is now turning into flag football, but do you like football any less because of what it is now, right?
Good point. I almost enjoy it more now that you say that. I never really thought about it in that kind of detail, but I am all for protecting player safety, to be honest with you. There's just, you're in it as a professional athlete and you're going to do whatever it takes to stay there and keep earning that paycheck and be there. And sometimes you get so lost in it, you don't think about, okay, I need to live a life after this. You're so in it. And I think sports in general are trending in the right direction. I love stuff that Dan is doing. There's a couple of these companies that are coming out. I love it. I love it because there's going to be so many guys in the future that are going to need help and they're going to need the resources.
Okay. So obviously I think people are busy watching the game, but if there's anybody in the chat that wants to ask a question, if let's say you just can't make it live video chat, ask us a question in the chat. I'm sure Dale and James and myself will be happy to answer. Super chat's also enabled, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. You can hit super chat on YouTube. And obviously if you're watching on YouTube tonight, hit that like button and definitely subscribe and hit us up with a comment. Even if you just like the show, the topic, this was a bit different than usual. We often go back and talk about just hockey, right? But this is life after hockey, which I think with Dale being here, it's a great way to, mix the two, right? It's almost more fascinating to see what people are going to do after their career.
I agree. And I would love to get more guys like this, post-career doing different things, not necessarily down the road that Dan's went. I would love to get some other guys. Just, it's so fascinating because, you hear so many stories about guys struggle and they don't do things after. And that's all you hear about in the media. You never hear the good stuff. I want to hear the guys that are, doing great and thriving and being successful and helping people. That's just great to see. What's Randy saying?
Randy's got a comment here. Did you get a small concussion?
Yeah. So that one against the Rangers was in the playoffs in 2014. I got hit in the second period. I went and passed the test, came back and played the game. And then when I woke up the next day, we were flying to New York, and I was in a world of hurt. Like I slept for like an hour. I could barely open my eyes. My head was pounding, and it was brutal. I got asked probably 8 times over the next 24. Can you play tomorrow? Can you play tomorrow? Can you play? I was like, no, I can't play. Like I can barely sit here in the plane. Like my head was pounding the whole flight. It was not
going
good.
on a plane after getting a concussion.
That's the worst thing you can do. But we were playing 2 days later, so it's like maybe we'll see if he can play because in 2014 they're really it was pretty wild.
Dude, I remember driving from a high school rugby game, getting a concussion and driving my car home. Like
how was that? How was that?
Well, in hindsight, you would never do that, right? This is like 1999 or something, right?
Yeah, my goodness.
That is not smart. We'll make a Hockey Dads episode about that one.
Yeah, that would be really good. That would be really good. And I'm trying to think of, I had one in junior that I can vividly remember. I'm sure I've had probably more than a handful. I think every guy probably has, but you don't have all the documented ones. And And it's crazy because you go down a list like before at the start of every year, you do like a medical with the teams and they run down your, you had this in your left shoulder. And then they go down the list and it's like 10 years ago, like, yeah, you had this concussion in October of 2011. I'm like, okay, I don't remember that. Like, what do you want me to tell you about that? So it's so funny when you go down these medical lists and they start talking about, all the injuries you had and everything. It's wild.
Another question here for you, Dale. Dave from Nova Scotia.
Dave, how much does the NHLPA take from the players? It's a pretty minimal amount. I don't know what the percentage is. It's not very much. And I believe that goes to funding the retired players. I'm pretty sure that's where it goes into.
Would you pay more? Sorry to interrupt, but would you pay more for the to support them to put more work into resources like we talked about?
100%. Yeah. I know I don't know when they made the rule, but all the suspension money, I'm pretty sure that's where it goes. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if it's a percentage or all of it, but I know in the last couple of years, all the suspension money has been going to that, so, which I think is great. You hear these terrible stories where these guys are really struggling and they don't have the resources. And I think players would be happy to pay it forward.
One question or a thing I found interesting is you're talking about getting guys on post career is a lot of people don't realize you guys start, let's say 16, 17 if you're playing like the CHL or something, but
yeah,
you guys are retired. I know you're not, but most guys are like early, mid to late 30s. That's when some people are just starting their careers and you guys are done. So like you guys have to fill that void, right?
Right. And that's something personally I've always looked at. That's why I got into some other things in real estate and my business that I have in Montreal. But there's so many guys that are you're so focused on being a hockey player, which I think is great. I think if you're going to be successful at anything in life, you got to be obsessed with it. But it's tough being a hockey player or professional athlete because, like you said, that runs out. And regardless of how much money you have in the bank, your mental health, you can't just sit there every day and do nothing. Okay, I'm retired at 32 years old, and even this year for me not playing it was difficult the first couple of months. I know I'm going to play in the future, but knowing I wasn't going to play the season was weird for me. I was kind of out of routine. It's September, October where I'm normally in a season, and I'm like kind of like not tolerable with my wife, and my kids are not bothering me, but you're just on edge, and it's just something different. So I can totally understand where guys are coming from with that. So it's difficult. And to be honest with you, I don't think agents, the NHL or the NHLPA really do a lot to prepare guys for post-career.
Or this is a good question because it's about even when you get traded, and we've talked about you being traded before and how disruptive and a shock to the system it can be. Like, what do the teams do to help you even transition? Like, I grew up in a military family, and they would do a lot. Like, you would get someone that would help set up your house and everything. Like, are you on your own? Is your agent helping you? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, your agent doesn't help you a lot. The team does the best they can. I was really fortunate. I got traded to Montreal twice, and they're probably one of the best in the leagues at helping you. So they do a great job. So, the first time I got traded, Vancouver to Montreal, they put you in a hotel right away. They get your family there. They instantly, find your real estate agent. You start looking for a place, try to get in. They pack up all your stuff in the other city in your car, and they ship it to wherever you want. So the NHL does a really, really good job with that. And then later in when I got traded from Philly in 2018, kind of the same thing. I shipped all my stuff home to Winnipeg, and my family just went home, and I came to Montreal by myself because once you have a couple of kids, it's kind of tough. They're in school and you're switching around, and that's kind of the unfortunate part when you get traded.
And that's when they put you up in is it like a condo unit the team owns, or would it be like hotel?
Yeah, it'd be like a extended stay hotel, and then they give you, most teams they'll say, well, okay, if you get traded at the deadline, you stay in the hotel for the rest of the year if you want, or you hop into an apartment, and whatever you were paying back home, they cover it in the new city.
Okay, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job. I'll say that. Let's see this. How much does the agent play a factor? I'd imagine in the contract discussions, but other than that much.
Well, you have an agent right now, I assume.
Yeah, I'm going to be my own agent. I've always thought,
okay. Well, I didn't know that. Okay, that's a revelation.
Works for Backstrom.
Yeah, agents. Everything works on comparables in the NHL, so it's the NHLPA does a lot of work behind the scenes, and they're like, okay, here's your stats. this is what this guy makes. And, that's all really you can give to the team. You scored 50 points. He makes 3 million. You're the same age. There's really not much you can go on. You're like, okay, I'm better than him. Yeah, okay, but you have the same stats and he's making this. So this is all we're going to give you. So
Wow.
it's pretty, it's all works on comparables.
And you can use that comparable for a foreign league, perhaps, to set your value, or do you feel like you get a premium in a foreign league because of your pedigree? I mean, you're an NHL player. You've got 10 years. What?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. You can't really compare that because, like I was looking the other day, and you look at Russia and Switzerland and stuff, and there's not many guys that have played 500 games that go over there. They either retire or they played long enough that they're ready to do something else. So it's interesting. I think in the next month or two, I'll probably figure out what I'm going to do for next season. I'm excited.
Okay,
too. That'd be good.
Yeah.
There's one last thing here, I think, Brandon, before we wrap, which was just give Dale an opportunity to talk about Emelin and just what's happened the last couple of days, and just say what you want to say, Dale.
Yeah, right. I did see that. Obviously, I follow the KHL pretty closely, and playing with Kovalchuk, obviously, on the same team, and I played with Emelin. So I talked to him about it, and he said it was a pretty scary situation, and I really hope the best for him and his family. That guy's an absolute warrior of a human being. So I loved him as a teammate. I really hope he's okay, and I wish nothing but him and his family the best.
As do we. We've been trying to post what we can on the Habs Tonight Twitter, and obviously it's a family, as you say. It's a brotherhood. People try to help each other out, even if it's just sending good vibes.
Absolutely,
sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brandon, you want to take us home here tonight? We've got a post game, so maybe
yes. With Steffi and Alyssa. I'm not sure how the game's going, so hopefully the game goes well for the girls. I know it can be quite crazy out there on the interwebs after a Habs game, but Steffi and Alyssa are going to bring it home. I know tomorrow night the Habs are playing the Jets. We may have a pregame show tomorrow. Then we're also got a Nick and Drew Deeks, I think, on postgame show tomorrow night. Then we also have, we got a Cans episode Saturday before the Winnipeg game. Derek and myself. We have a guest about an hour before puck drop. So come in, have a beverage. And what else we got? O'Toole de la Ligue. That was on Monday night or Monday afternoon with Nick and Shane. We just have so much stuff going out right now. It's incredible. I'm so proud of this team.
It's amazing. Amazing. Again, thanks for everybody in the back that puts in all the hard work that you guys don't get to see. So we appreciate everybody on the team.
Yeah, that's great. So. No, I wish everyone a good night. Thank you for watching. Once again, hit subscribe, like, comment. These videos live on forever. So what you say there will stand the test of time, as long as it's positive and nice. And
always.
But I'm James.
Brandon.
Signing off, guys.
All
right. See you guys.
Thanks so much.